This poster serves to document my service learning experience. I'm Lynn Bass. I'm a social work major at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. This service learning experience took place as a part of my social work class 222L, Social Work Values Laboratory, in the spring of 2020. My professor is Dr. Laurel Hitchcock, and my learning experience took place at the United Way of Central Alabama at their 211 call center. So the purpose of this service project was to work with the United Way associates to handle calls coming into their 211 call center. This call center is staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and the calls come in, they could be requesting any resource, but the majority of the calls are requesting assistance with rent payments or with utility payments. Agencies apply with the United Way to be a part of the database of helping resources. When a call comes in, it's always logged, and the zip code is captured and entered, and that zip code is used as a part of the search so that the resources that are shared with the caller are in close proximity to them. The goal, if possible, is to always provide the caller with at least 3 resources for whatever situation they've called with. So the community impact of the call center. The resource database includes 800 health and human services providers and 1,700 service locations. And this database is searched for every call that comes in. Last year, the call center handled 37,987 calls. And during my brief volunteer shifts, I probably handled about 35 calls. So what were some of the challenges, rewards, and a reflection on my service learning experience? Because this experience was all new to begin with, I was very awkward and nervous and slow. But thankfully I improved as the experience went on and as I took more calls. But I wanted to be confident because usually when the callers called, they were in a dire situation. So I wanted to be able to give them reassurance and make them feel comfortable. It was frustrating when a caller called and there were only a couple of resources or maybe no resources that you could give. I had a caller called and her elderly father had passed away and she was calling for assistance with burial expenses, and there were just very few resources available to help with that. It was very reinforcing when a caller called and you could give them 3 resources that you felt strongly could help them. And as far as this was my first direct interaction with a client, it was definitely less intimidating because it happened over the phone as opposed to face-to-face, but it was still nervous to begin with, but it will help me to be more confident in the future when I deal directly with clients. So how did this experience relate to our academic learning? It definitely reinforced what we read in our textbooks, but it was very nice to deal with an actual clients as opposed to just reading about working with clients, to actually have that experience. Essentially, with every call that I took, I conducted a mini first interview. So that again relates definitely to what we've learned this semester. When you were on the phone with a caller, you were definitely an advocate for them. You have access to the database of resources. So it's up to you to do your best to find them resources that will help with their situation and that are in close proximity to them. The Code of Ethics provided guidance. As a person taking the calls, you were there to serve the caller, you were to treat them with dignity and respect, and you were to act towards them in a trustworthy manner. The importance of self-care was also reinforced. Most every call that you received, it was a dire circumstance. Their utilities were about to be turned off. They were about to be evicted. A loved one had passed away and they needed help with burial expenses. So you had to be strong emotionally and mentally to be able to help them and also to be able to put appropriate boundaries in place. Our trainer repeatedly said, you can't take it home with you. You help them all that you can, and when you leave the office, you leave the problems there. Definitely easier said than done, but something that we need to strive towards as social workers. And special thanks to the 211 call center staff and to our professor, Dr. Laurel Hitchcock.